do all these things satisfy different sort of cravings that you have? I mean, have you always just felt driven by a need to express yourself, and there's not one channel that can satisfy that for you?
Yeah, I mean, my friend Harmony Korine, who from a very young age has always said, you know, it's all connected. He's been a painter and a photographer and a writer and a filmmaker and even an actor. And he says it's all kind of connected. It's all kind of one thing. And for me, yeah, the greater exploration is sort of like that. And I take all of those things, you know, seriously. And I've gone to school for all of them because I do respect them as kind of art forms, and tried to learn as much as I can about each one. But now I do feel very satisfied, because it's like I now can, you know, if I have an idea or something that I want to do, I'm in a place where I can have the form match the content. Like sometimes something's better as a painting, sometimes it's better as a book, sometimes it's better as a movie. And it's great to be in a position where it's like, oh, okay, I'll do that one as a book, and I'll do that one as a movie. Yeah.
Where do you...
Or I won't even direct this one. I'll give this one to somebody else to direct.
Well, talk a little bit about how that works. I mean, people must come to you all the time with projects that they want you to be involved with to help them to make it as a producer, and maybe you can act in it too, like Yosemite. How involved day to day are you with that part of your career, and do you have a team of people around you? I mean, take us inside the workings of Rabbit Bandini a little bit, and how a movie like the one we're going to see today makes it to the screen.
Well, in general, I do like to be helpful. I do like to help young filmmakers that I believe in, not just by teaching, but by being in their movies and helping these movies get made. And I know that I have a certain value, I guess, by just being in something. And I like to, I try to be as generous as I can with that. Obviously, I can't be in everybody's movie, but I like to be the person that says yes, because I certainly, coming up, faced plenty of people that could have said yes to me and didn't, and it's a bummer, and so I like to be the one that says yes, if I believe in it. Usually, because I can't, as you've said, I already do like a lot. Those people I say yes to are usually people that, I know, or students of mine, or whatever. So with Gabrielle, who directed Yosemite, she was at school with me. We made our first 4-minute MOS projects together. She's going to come up in a minute. Maybe she can give her take on all that. My MOS was pretty good, I think. I took it to Berlin Film Festival and all that. But yeah, Gab's was good. But she was somebody that I just thought, we shared certain tastes, and I saw in a lot of her films at school that there were these younger characters. She often had, these kids in her films, and I'd already given Palo Alto to Gia Coppola, and she made her film, but there were these other stories that I had, and I just thought that Gab had the right sensibility for it, and she I think really loved the idea, and so she adapted it, and like when I do that, when I give somebody my stories, I know that a movie is a different medium than a short story, so I try to give her, you know, as much freedom as possible. I'm not precious with how she adapts it. Only comments I'll give are to kind of make it a better movie, not to kind of make it more in line with what I did in the story. So I gave her kind of carte blanche to do what she wanted to with the adaptation, and then I did everything I could to kind of help it along.
And this is a movie that's somewhat younger characters than the ones in Palo Alto, and it's really very much a movie about boyhood and adolescence, and sort of seeing the world through those eyes. And then can you just talk a little bit of when you were writing the stories about what attracted you to that as a subject?
I see. Yeah, I mean, even with the other stories, they involve like teenagers.
Yeah.
So I often write about people, young people, and I found, you know, you find your subjects, I guess. And I know in, you know, MFA writing programs, like, there's so many stories about, like, the teen years, and da-da-da-da-da. And I just thought, well, if I'm going to do that old MFA, you know, program cliche subject, then I better just try and make it as good as possible. Because this is what is alive when I write. And in hindsight, what I think I get from those characters is that young people, because they're experiencing things for the first time, because they haven't quite merged themselves or found their final place in the world. They don't know who exactly they're going to be when they grow up. That you can write about everything in a heightened way because it's sort of heightened for the characters, and that often emotions, you know, are much more extreme, and small events can feel like big events, and then on top of all that, I just felt like, well, everything that I was sort of kind of going through either as a child or a teenager are still things that I deal with, you know, friendship, love, finding who you are, identity. How do you how do you present yourself to the world? How do you engage with the world? Those are things that we deal with our whole lives. It's just that when you're a teenager, it's all still pretty new, and so it has this extra kind of excitement. So I find that those characters are, you know, I just find a lot of vitality when I write about those characters.
And it seems like, you know, every year during Sundance, there's so much talk of sort of what is the state of the independent film world. And actually, Peter Baxter and I were talking a little bit before we came in here about the fact that, you know, it is so much easier to make films now. There's so many more films being made in this kind of DIY style. But by and large, and I think we've seen it in the last week here, you know, you still read about this movie selling to this theatrical distributor for this amount of money, and they're going to release it at X date, and even the idea of, you know, launching the film in the festival setting, it's still very much a model that's been around for a long time. And I think a lot of people are wondering, you know, what is the new model going to be, and how are, you know, all of these films that are being made now that maybe don't get shown in a festival but are interesting films going to get out into the wider world. And you've of course been at the center recently of a movie that really upended the studio distribution model, which was The Interview, and it'll be interesting to see now how studios even approach getting films out there. But as somebody who's so kind of involved in so many different sectors of this business, where would you like to see things in 5 or 10 years down the road in terms of how independent films are reaching audiences?
I don't know if it's, for me, I've come to a place where I'm just happy if the kinds of stories that I want to be told are being told. And so for a while maybe we could bemoan the fact that, like, well, only big budget movies get played in theaters or whatever, but it's like, okay, but I mean, look at TV now, like Breaking Bad, The Wire, The Sopranos, you know, it's like, oh, that's even better than like that's better than all the movies I see now. Like I'm just watching, all I do is watch that stuff now. Like I mean, no, I watch a lot of movies. I'll have seen 30 movies at this festival, so I watch 6 movies a day. But you know, I think that's exciting that, you know, that there are more outlets, and so I would say for, you know, up and coming, you know, filmmakers or whatever, TV makers or video makers, try to do absolutely everything. Like it frustrates me to no end, or it sounds more miserable than anything to kind of be hung up on any step of the kind of bureaucratic process, or like the, you know, the practical process of like getting somebody to give you the money, getting this actor in it so that you can make it, getting this equipment so that you can do it. It's like, just use what you have, you know, at your disposal. And if you're new, you know, the experience, even if you make it on your phone, the experience isn't going to hurt you. And what you'll, you know, you make a movie on your phone, what you can focus on is story, you know, performance, and see if your stuff is actually playing. And then whatever, you don't get into Sundance, you don't get into Slamdance, fine, put it out somewhere else and make another one, you know. And that's what I do. Like, I don't, you know, I make a lot of these movies. I think we submitted, I tried to tell people not to, but I was thinking I was a part of like 7 or 8 movies that were submitted to Sundance this year. I have 2 in Sundance, so, you know, but to me it's sort of like, it's fine, you know, these things will find an outlet, and these are all things that I was a part of because I believed in, and they'll find an audience. It's not the end of the world that they don't kind of have that whiplash story, like, oh, I went to Sundance and now nominated for, you know, Oscars. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way, you know, just keep doing it.
I think with that, James, I'll let you